In 72 hours, the world changed. The United States and Israel launched the most significant military operation in the Middle East in 20 years. Iran's Supreme Leader, who ruled for 36 years, is dead. More than 40 senior officials were wiped out in a single night. Iran fired back, launching missiles over Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. The Burj Khalifa was evacuated. Iranian citizens tore down monuments to the Islamic Republic in the streets. As of this morning, nobody knows who's running Iran or what they are about to do. The next 72 hours will determine whether this ends or becomes something no one can stop. In June 2025, Israel and Iran launched missiles at each other for 12 days straight. Explosions lit up the night sky over Tel Aviv and Tehran. CNN and Reuters ran live video of fireballs and air raid sirens. The world watched, waiting for the next move. By the time the shooting stopped, Iran's nuclear sites at Natanz and Fordow were damaged, but not destroyed. The ceasefire was fragile. Inside Iran, anger boiled over. By autumn, protests erupted in more than 100 cities. Security forces fired live rounds into crowds. Drones buzzed overhead. Human rights groups counted over 1,000 civilians killed before winter. On January 23, 2026, Iran's navy announced a new armada in the Gulf. The message was clear: any attack would be answered with force. But the real battle was happening off the battlefield. In Geneva, American and Iranian diplomats met for 3 rounds of nuclear talks. Oman brokered the meetings. Each side leaked threats to the press. On February 22nd, the United States issued a 48-hour ultimatum. Tehran had to present a detailed nuclear proposal or the talks were over. Reuters and Al Jazeera reported the deadline on every channel. The world held its breath. On February 26th, the Council on Foreign Relations reported that the Geneva process was stalling. Both sides warned of escalation. The next day, Iran missed the deadline. No proposal, no deal. Geneva collapsed. The only thing left was the threat of force. In the hours that followed, a United States carrier strike group moved into position in the Gulf. Satellite tracking showed a wall of American and Israeli warplanes circling just outside Iranian airspace. The world was now on a 48-hour cliff edge. Diplomats scrambled for last-minute phone calls. Oil traders braced for impact. Every capital in the region was on high alert. You are standing at the edge of the most dangerous moment the Middle East had seen in decades. A diplomatic deal was 48 hours from being signed. Then bombs fell. And what the CIA had been planning for months in parallel changed everything about how you read this story. 0215 UTC. The first explosions hit Tehran. You cannot see the missiles, only the sudden bloom of fire over the Saadabad compound. That is where Khamenei slept. Within minutes, the parliament building is burning. The Ministry of Intelligence is next. 43 senior officials are dead before sunrise. Names scroll across state TV. Hossein Mousavi, Quds Force Commander, Amir Pakpour, Air Defense Chief, Mohammad Shamkhani, Defense Minister. Even Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the former president and regime advisor, is gone. Khamenei's daughter, his grandchild, his daughter-in-law, his son-in-law are all killed inside the compound. The strike list is surgical. The leadership of the IRGC, the Ministry of Intelligence, and the Parliament were wiped out in a single hour. But this is not just about people. The Natanz enrichment plant takes a direct hit. Satellite images show a 10-meter crater on the northwest wall, exhaust stacks toppled, smoke pouring from the centrifuge halls. Fordow's underground tunnels collapse. The blast door is gone. The ventilation shaft is twisted and useless. At Isfahan, the fuel fabrication hall is gutted. Roof panels are peeled back. A black scar runs the length of the west side. Analysts say Iran's uranium conversion capacity just dropped by 40%. The heart of the nuclear program is crippled. The country plunges into chaos. Internet traffic drops to 4% of normal. For 35 minutes, Iran is cut off from the world. Emergency decrees go out. State media breaks the news the Supreme Leader is dead. A 40-day period of mourning is ordered. In Tehran, black banners appear overnight. Across the country, phones go silent. No official heir is named. The last time Iran replaced its Supreme Leader was 1989. Now the most powerful man in the Islamic Republic is gone, and there is no one waiting in the wings. The power vacuum is total. The world is watching, but inside Iran, the question is immediate and raw. Who rules now? There is no time for mourning. The Supreme Leader is dead and the entire government is decapitated. Iran's constitution, Article 111, demands an immediate solution, fast. Power cannot simply vanish. So, within hours, an interim leadership council is declared. 3 men now hold the fate of the Islamic Republic in their hands. President Masoud Pezeshkian, Chief Justice Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejei, and senior cleric Ali Reza Arafi. This trio is not a committee by choice. The law forces them together, their only job. Keep the state alive until a new supreme leader is chosen. But the process is anything but simple. The assembly of experts, 88 clerics, each with their own loyalties, must select the next supreme leader. They need a 2/3 quorum just to meet. In theory, the rules are clear. In practice, every rule is a battlefield. The assembly can only pick a candidate from among the highest-ranking Islamic jurists, the so-called marja. But in a country where the last transition took 10 months, and where the regime is under attack, the pressure to act is crushing. There is no set deadline, only the phrase as soon as possible. 3 names circulate in every corridor of power. Ali Reza Arafi, the conservative cleric with deep ties to the Guardian Council and the IRGC's religious wing. Mohammad Ghalibaf, former mayor of Tehran and ex-IRGC commander, who promises stability and pragmatism. And Mojtaba Khamenei, the late Supreme Leader's son, rumored to control networks inside the Quds Force and the Basij militia. Each man is backed by a different faction. Each man is a potential lightning rod for civil war. The Council on Foreign Relations and regional analysts outlined 3 scenarios. First, the hardliner consensus. The interim council holds, the assembly of experts moves quickly, and Arafi is crowned supreme leader. Then second, the IRGC dynasty. Mojtaba Khamenei is pushed forward, the rules are bent, and the guard cements its hold. Third, stalemate. The assembly splits, the interim council lingers, and Iran slides toward collective rule or outright collapse. Every path runs through the same crucible. Whoever controls the council controls the future. Iran has only replaced its supreme leader once in 47 years, and is trying to do it again while bombs are still falling. Before sunrise, Ankilab Square is already overflowing. Tens of thousands gather, black ribbons on their arms, candles flickering in the chill. Prayers for Khamenei blend with chants for justice. The city's grief is immediate, the air heavy with shock. Tehran's internet traffic collapses just 4% of normal. Phones go silent. The capital feels sealed off, mourning in isolation. Beyond Tehran, the mood flips in Karaj, flags wave and music blares. Crowds shout, "Long live the revolution of freedom." Qazvin erupts in fireworks. In Shiraz, people sing in Hafiziyeh Park under banners saying Shiraz stands with the people. Kermanshah hosts open-air concerts. Isfahan's Naksh-e-Jahan Square pulses with chants against the clerics. Here, the Supreme Leader's death is a spark for celebration and demands for change. The country is split, mourning in the capital and celebration in the provinces. Security forces respond with force. In Tehran, mourners push against police lines near the Ministry of Intelligence. Gunfire cracks the morning. Videos capture panic, screams, people carrying the wounded. In Shiraz, hospitals report 3 civilians killed before breakfast. In Karaj, checkpoints open fire as demonstrators lay flowers. By nightfall, at least 8 people are dead and more than 25 are wounded. The Red Crescent confirms the violence. The regime is shooting its own citizens even as the world watches. Symbols topple alongside leaders. In southern Tehran, a crowd brings down the Khomeini monument with sledgehammers. In Karaj, the Islamic Republic's emblem is torn from its pedestal and dragged through the streets. Satellite images confirm the monuments are gone, erased from the city's skyline. From exile in Berlin, Reza Pahlavi addresses 12,000 people and says the death of Ayatollah Khamenei marks the end of the Islamic Republic. He says the Iranian people yearn for freedom and that the time for a constitutional monarchy has arrived. The New York Times headline reads, "Crossing the Rubicon, the killing of Iran's supreme leader. The regime's legitimacy bleeds away, live for the world. Retaliation feels inevitable." Iran has only replaced its supreme leader once in 47 years. Now it must try again under fire. Subscribe to Behind Dubai right now. This is exactly what we do. Hit subscribe. The first missiles crossed the Gulf just before dawn. Iran calls the operation True Promise 4. You hear the sirens in Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Manama within minutes. Al Dhafra Air Base takes a direct hit. U.S. personnel scramble for cover as the blast wave rattles the walls. In Qatar, Al Udeid's runways vanish under clouds of smoke. Bahrain's harbor fills with sirens as the U.S. Fifth Fleet locks down the port. In Kuwait, the Al Salam Air Base reports missile impact and a fuel depot fire. Saudi Arabia's Prince Sultan Air Base is rocked by an explosion. Even RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus is forced to ground flights after radar tracks a cruise missile fragment overhead. But the shockwave does not stop at military targets. Debris from a downed missile falls on Palm Jumeirah in Dubai. A cafe collapses. 2 civilians and a first responder are killed. 58 more are injured, most by flying glass or smoke inhalation. The UAE Ministry of Health confirms the numbers within an hour. Emergency crews rush victims to Al Maktoum Hospital. Downtown Dubai Civil Defense orders the full evacuation of the Burj Khalifa. You see crowds streaming down emergency stairwells, cell phones lighting the darkness. Dubai International cancels more than 300 flights. The world's busiest airport falls silent. Hezbollah fires rockets from southern Lebanon and northern Israel. The conflict is no longer just Iran in the west. The entire region is now a target list. Every Gulf capital feels exposed. The myth of immunity is gone. On the streets, civilians are the ones paying the price. Iran just lost 40 of its top officials overnight. A 3-person council is running a country under active bombardment. Which scenario do you think is most likely? While the succession crisis unfolds behind closed doors, on the streets of Iran something is happening that changes the entire moral calculus of this war. Oil jumps to 8% in a single hour. Gas prices surge 4%. Gold, the ancient alarm bell, climbs 3% as investors run for cover. Meanwhile, S&P 500 futures slip, down 1% before New York even opens. The world's money is moving fast and nervous. Dubai, the city built on open trade and financial calm, is suddenly at the center of the storm. 300,000 Iranians live and work in the UAE. Every year, billions of dollars flow through Dubai's banks, ports, and real estate, much of it tied to Iranian business. Now, with missile debris on Palm Jumeirah and flights grounded at DXB, the city's entire model is at risk. The Burj Khalifa stands empty, its lights still blazing, but the world's tallest building is now a symbol of vulnerability, not confidence. For decades, Dubai sold itself as the neutral ground, open to all, friend to none, a safe haven for capital from Tehran, Tel Aviv, and everywhere in between. But as the Gulf turns into a war zone, that promise is under direct attack. Oil traders scramble to reroute tankers. Hedge funds bet on volatility. Multinationals freeze new deals, unsure if Dubai is still a gateway or the next target. The question is no longer about economics alone. If missiles can fall on Dubai, what does neutrality even mean? Can a city built on global trust survive when every side demands loyalty? Iran just lost 40 of its top officials overnight. A 3-person council is running a country under active bombardment. Which scenario do you think is most likely? Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, 3 names that haunt every conversation about regime change by force. Each promised a new beginning. Each delivered something else. After the fall of the Taliban in 2001, Afghanistan saw 2 decades of foreign occupation, insurgency, and a government that never truly controlled its own territory. The Taliban returned to power in 2021. In Iraq, Saddam Hussein was toppled in 2003. Coalition troops flooded Baghdad. The Ba'ath Party vanished overnight. What followed was not peace, but years of sectarian violence. Hundreds of thousands dead, millions displaced, and a state that still struggles to hold itself together. Libya's story is even starker. In 2011, NATO airstrikes helped rebels kill Muammar Gaddafi. The regime collapsed in weeks, but there was no plan for what came next. Rival governments claimed Tripoli and Benghazi. Militias carved up the country. More than a decade later, Libya is still split, its oil fields contested, its borders porous to arms and traffickers. In each case, the removal of a strongman was fast. The unraveling that followed was slow, chaotic, and costly. Power vacuums lasted months or years. New leaders struggled to assert control. Foreign actors moved in. The promise of stability till it gave way to cycles of violence and economic collapse. These are not distant lessons, they are recent, lived realities. And now, as Iran's leadership is wiped out in a single night, the world is forced to ask, does this time look any different? Or are we watching the opening moves of another long, unpredictable struggle for control? Iran's retaliation is still ongoing, and the targets it chose reveal exactly how this war could affect every person on Earth, not just those in the Gulf. The IRGC is not a single command. It is a web, thousands of officers, local Basij units, and economic front companies, all embedded across Iran and the wider region. Even after losing its top leadership, this network remains. Analysts warn that the Guard has spent years preparing for a day like this. Contingency plans, hidden arms depots, and loyalists in every major city. The Basij militia, with its street-level cells, can pivot from suppressing protests to waging a symmetric war in hours. These are not just soldiers. They are bankers, port managers, telecom engineers. The IRGC's reach extends into Dubai's banking sector, into the flow of oil, even into the digital backbone of Gulf commerce. A leaked note from former IRGC strategist Brigadier General Ahmedian, written days before the strike, spells it out. If the head falls, burn the ground beneath their feet. It is not a metaphor. The Guard's doctrine is to make occupation impossible, to turn every city into a trap, every asset into a bargaining chip. That threat does not stop at Iran's borders. Dubai is now exposed. Its promise of neutrality, of safety for global capital, hangs by a thread. If the IRGC decides to activate its networks, the city's ports, banks, and even real estate markets could become targets or leverage points. Billions in Iranian assets are parked here. 300,000 Iranians live and work in the Emirates. Dubai's economy depends on trust, on the idea that war stays outside. But today, the boundary is gone. The question is not whether the conflict can spread. The question is how far, how fast, and who gets caught in the crossfire. As Ahmadian warned, if you scorch the earth in Tehran, prepare for fire in your own house. What happens when the world's safe havens become battlefields? Iran's retaliation is still ongoing. The targets it chose reveal exactly how this war could affect every person on Earth, not just those in the Gulf. Right now, Iran is leaderless. Dubai's skyline is a missile target, and oil prices have jumped over 20% in a single week. The world's faith in Gulf stability just shattered, live, in front of you. When power vacuums open under fire, chaos travels fast. Are you ready for what comes next? Behind Dubai exists for exactly this moment. Subscribe now. This story is nowhere near over.